The group chat was exploding so fast my phone vibrated across the table. Voices, notes, accusations, frantic messages from numbers I did not even recognize. But none of it mattered as much as the single text that had started the avalanche. Please don't come. We want a drama-free wedding. My daughter, Marissa. Sent it at 6:42 in the morning, and right beneath it, barely a breath later, came the small reaction that cut deeper than her words ever could, Judith Alderman. My future mother-in-law, tapping, like as if she had been waiting for that moment. I stared at the screen for a long second, feeling nothing and everything at once. At 68, after decades of swallowing hurt for the sake of peace, I had learned how to quiet my reactions before they could hurt me. So I typed back calmly, "Perfect. Then you will not need my payments either." The typing bubbles vanished. For a heartbeat, the entire chat went silent. Then it detonated. What does she mean, someone from the groom's side wrote? Is she canceling something a bridesmaid asked? Tell her to fix this. Another message flashed. Judith finally chimed in. Eveline, this is childish. The wedding is nearly here. Her tone was as clipped as always. Every word edged with entitlement. I am only honoring your request. I answered. No presents. No money. Before anyone responded, another bubble appeared long, fast. Frantic. Mom! Why did you say that? Marissa typed. You are making this worse. But she had already made her choice hours before. Then it happened, the mini disaster none of them expected. Someone in the bridesmaids thread screenshotted my reply and accidentally forwarded it to the extended relatives group. More than 40 people received it in less than a minute. New messages flooded in from cousins, aunts, and people who had not spoken to me in years. What drama? What payments? What is going on with the wedding? The noise grew louder, but my heartbeat stayed steady. I set the phone down, palms flat on the table, and breathed slowly as the chaos kept building without me. For the first time in a long time, I did not rush to calm anyone, rescue anything, or fix a single problem. I simply let the world spin without my hands holding it together. And that was where everything truly began. How many years of quiet sacrifice does it take before a woman realizes she has become invisible? I asked myself that as I held my phone. The group chat still chiming in the background. The sound took me back farther than I expected to. The years when it was just Marissa and me in a little apartment on the east side of Savannah. I was 34 when her father died, and the city's old expectations settled over me like a wet blanket. A Hartwell woman endures, my late mother liked to say, so I endured. I worked late shifts as a coastal archivist, sorted fragile documents by day, soothed a crying child by night, and covered every mistake Marissa made as she grew. You do too much for her, my sister Caroline once warned. She is my daughter, I answered. What else should I do? Caroline shook her head. One day she will expect it. Not appreciate it. I had brushed it off then. I do not brush it off now. Years passed, and Savannah's old traditions never loosened their grip. The more I did, the more I was expected to do. When Marissa overdrew her account in college, she called in tears. I transferred the money before she finished explaining. When her car broke down at 23, I paid for a new transmission without hesitation. And when she became engaged, I did not even think twice about covering deposits that added up to more than $20,000. But things shifted the first time I met her fiancé's family. Judith Alderman studied me like she was inspecting a painting. That dress is sweet, she said gently, which was her polite Southern way of saying outdated. Marissa pulled me aside afterward. Mom, next time, maybe something more polished. I swallowed the sting and nodded. Of course. There were other moments. Small cuts, quick looks, soft corrections. None enough to confront on their own, but each one settling deeper into me. And with every wedding decision, I felt myself stepping back, watching Judith guide Marissa toward a version of life where I barely fit. By the time that text came, the bruises had already formed. When does support stop being love and start becoming leverage? What if the real drama was never the mother, but the woman who wanted her erased? I learned that truth slowly, the way ivy grows over a wall, quiet, steady, impossible to stop once it has taken hold. Judith Alderman stepped into Marissa's life with the confidence of a woman born into Savannah's oldest money. She spoke softly, but every word carried the weight of a family that measured worth in lineage, posture, and the shine of inherited silver. We must keep the wedding elegant, she told Marissa the first afternoon we all sat together. Marissa smiled nervously. Of course. Judith's eyes slid to me, polite but assessing. Some guests simply do not fit the aesthetic. I felt the sting, but Marissa only squeezed my hand under the table and whispered, "Ignore her." Ignoring her grew harder with time. Judith made a habit of steering conversations, especially when Marissa seemed uncertain. The alderman name carries expectations. She often reminded her. I know, Marissa whispered one evening when we were alone. I just want things to go smoothly. Things will, I assured her. A wedding is about love. She looked away. Love isn't the only thing they care about. The shift became clear the week of the engagement photos. My phone buzzed with a message from Marissa, but it was the forwarded text above it that froze me. From Judith. I think it would be better if your mother sits out of the rehearsal dinner. The evening is meant to be polished. I read it twice before calling Marissa. Did you send this by accident? I asked. She breathed shakily. Mom, please do not make this harder. Judith says the dinner is for immediate family. Her kind of family. I am your immediate family. I said quietly, Mom, just let it go, please. The conversation ended, but something inside me did not. How far will a woman go to impress a family that never wanted her mother there? Why do we keep paying for people who treat us like a burden? I asked myself that more than once as I reviewed the long string of invoices attached to Marissa's wedding. I had paid the deposit for the historic Whitaker House mansion, a place so in demand that couples waited a year just to tour it. I had sent money for coastal catering, the kind that served fresh-caught shrimp and soft-shell crab at nearly $200 per guest. I covered the photographer's retainer, a woman whose portfolio carried more magazine credits than I could count. And when the florist required an additional fee for imported garden roses, I wired it before dinner without a second thought. Every time I paid, Marissa said the same thing. Mom, thank you. I promise I will pay you back someday. I always answered, you do not owe me anything. This is your wedding. Judith never replied to these messages at all. Then came the call that told me more than any invoice ever had. Ms. Hartwell, this is Rowan from the wedding planning team. Her voice was chirpy, too practiced. Just checking to confirm the second installment for the mansion setup fee. It is due this afternoon. I was not aware of a second installment. I said, can you send me the paperwork? There was a pause. A soft throat clear. Oh well, Marissa told us not to bother you. She said you stress easily and that she would handle the communication. I felt something inside me shift. She said that, yes, ma'am. She said you prefer not to be involved. I paid every deposit. I replied, I am very involved. Another pause. I apologize. I must have misunderstood. When the call ended, I sat very still. No shouting, no crying, just the quiet acceptance that the erasure had not started with the text that morning. It had begun long before. In whispers I had chosen to ignore. What happens when the person funding the fairy tale realizes she is not invited to it? What if the most powerful thing a mother can do is nothing. That thought settled over me as I laid every contract across my dining table. Page after page held my name, Evelyn Hartwell, the sole payer, the responsible party, the silent benefactor. The hurt was still there, but it no longer felt sharp. It had cooled into something steadier, a clarity I had not felt in years. I dialed the mansion coordinator first. "This is Evelyn Hartwell. I need to cancel the reservation for the Whitaker House wedding." A stunned pause. "Cancel. But the event is in a few weeks." "I understand. Please proceed." Her breath hitched, but she complied. Next was the coastal caterer. "I am withdrawing from the contract." I said. The manager sighed in resignation. "Mrs. Hartwell, we have a waiting list. If you are certain, we will refund the deposit." "I am certain." Then the photographer. "You want to release your date?" she asked. "Yes. I can transfer your entire retainer to another client." "That is fine." My hands were steady until I reached the florist. "This is Evelyn Hartwell," I said. "I need to cancel the floral order." The florist hesitated. "Before we finalize that, I want to confirm the upgrade." I frowned. "What upgrade? The premium package?" "A full arch of imported peonies. Judith Alderman requested it last week and said to charge it to your account." I closed my eyes briefly. "I never approved that." "Oh," she whispered. "Should I revert everything?" "Yes. Cancel it all." I ended the call and placed the phone down gently. There was no rush of triumph, no satisfaction, only a quiet acceptance. I had spent years carrying a household, then a daughter, then a wedding that no longer had room for me. The unraveling had already begun long before this moment. I was simply stepping out of the way and letting it continue. When the funding disappears, what else starts to unravel? Have you ever watched people who dismissed you suddenly realize they needed you? I was sitting at my kitchen table with a cup of chamomile tea when my niece, Lila, sent the first message. "Aunt Ev, the mansion is locked." I read it twice. Locked. At this hour, I typed back, "Yes, everyone is outside. Judith is calling someone, but the staff says the reservation was canceled." I set my tea down as the phone vibrated again. "The caterers are not coming either," she wrote. "Judith is screaming at a server who is not even part of the wedding." Another buzz. The photographer just texted the bridesmaids thread. She said Marissa's date has been reassigned. They are all freaking out. I exhaled slowly. All of this was expected, but I had not imagined the blow-by-blow would arrive so quickly. Lila sent a voice note. I hesitated, then played it. In the background, someone was crying. Then an angry voice cut through Judith's. "This is sabotage. Evelyn did this. I told all of you that woman would ruin everything." Another voice shot back one of the bridesmaids. "Maybe the problem is not her. Maybe you should not have pushed her out." The recording ended abruptly. I typed, "Are you safe? Do not get involved. It is too late." She replied, "Marissa and the bridesmaids are fighting. One of them said she is tired of Judith treating everyone like they are beneath her. The groom's cousin shouted that this is what happens when brides let other people run their wedding." More messages spilled in. Guests are arriving. People are standing on the lawn asking what happened. Someone said the aldermans cannot pay the remaining balance. Marissa is crying. Judith is yelling at her. "Everyone keeps asking where you are." I held the phone in my hand, feeling the tremor of each new alert. The chaos on their end grew louder, more frantic, more desperate. But the room around me stayed steady, quiet, untouched. The drama-free wedding had become a public disaster, and I had not moved from my chair. What do people do when the person they erased suddenly becomes essential? What does an apology mean when it comes only after humiliation? I had barely brewed my morning coffee when a hard, urgent knock rattled my front door. I opened it to find Marissa standing beside Judith Alderman. Both looked exhausted, but neither wore anything close to remorse. "Mom, we need to talk," Marissa said quickly. Judith stepped forward before I could answer. "This situation has gotten out of hand. We need to correct the optics before people start making assumptions." "Optics?" I repeated softly. "Is that why you are here?" Judith clasped her hands together. "You canceled everything without warning. It made Marissa look irresponsible. It made all of us look careless. If you would simply reinstate the payments, we can recover from this." Marissa nodded, eyes red but focused. "Please, Mom, we just need the deposits back. The vendors said they will reopen the contracts if you call. There will be no reopening," I said, my voice steady. "I ended the payments because you removed me from the wedding." Judith's expression tightened. "You took a private conversation and turned it into a spectacle. Marissa has been anxious for months because you keep inserting yourself into things she asked you not to." Marissa looked down, twisting her fingers, but said nothing. I stepped closer. "Judith, you told her I do not fit your aesthetic. You told the florist to charge upgrades to my account, and you told my daughter I should be kept away from the rehearsal dinner." Judith blinked but did not deny it. "You misunderstood my intentions." "No," I said. "I understood them perfectly." Marissa's voice broke. "Mom, please stop. This is already so hard for whom I asked gently." She hesitated, then whispered the truth I had felt coming for weeks. "They think you embarrass them. I just wanted things to be perfect." The words landed with the weight of years. What do you do when the person you raised finally tells you the truth you feared most? How do you walk away from the child you still love? Marissa stood in my doorway, tears gathering again. But her posture told a different story. She was waiting for me to fold the way I always had. Judith adjusted her pearl bracelet, as if preparing for a negotiation. "Eveline," she began, "we can smooth this over. All you must do is reinstate the payments and call the vendors. They will reopen everything." "No," I said. "The funding is finished." Marissa stepped forward. "Mom, please. You do not understand how bad it looks. People think we cannot manage our own wedding. You removed me from it." I answered, "You made that choice." Judith exhaled sharply. "You are overreacting. These decisions were made to protect the wedding's tone. No one meant to offend you." I held her gaze. "You told the florist to bill me for an upgrade I did not authorize. You called the planner and instructed her not to contact me. And you encouraged my daughter to keep me away from her events." Judith's mouth tightened. "Those were simple adjustments. The alderman name requires a certain standard." I reached for the folder on the console table and handed her a contract. "This was sent to my email last night. A second reception venue in case the weather turned." "You attempted to sign my name on it." Her eyes widened before she looked at Marissa. "This is absurd. I spoke to the coordinator. I said—" She confirmed who called. Judith's voice dropped. "You would threaten legal action against your own daughter's future family." "I would protect myself," I replied. "And I will, for the first time." She stepped back. Marissa's voice trembled. "Mom, are you really doing this?" "I am," I said gently, not out of anger, out of necessity. The silence between us felt like a door closing. What happens when a mother stops protecting people from the consequences they created? What remains after the wedding when the truth finally settles? The ceremony went ahead 2 days later, smaller and stripped of everything they had planned. Lila sent me updates in quiet, hesitant messages, never sure how much I wanted to know. I told her to tell me only what she felt comfortable sharing. "They moved it to the community hall," she wrote. "The florist could not rebuild anything on such short notice. They used candles and borrowed tablecloths." A moment later, she added, "People are whispering. Someone reposted the screenshot of the group chat, and now the relatives know why everything collapsed. I imagined the murmurs, the half-hidden looks. Then the next update arrived. Sharper, more urgent. The groom just confronted Judith. I typed back, "What happened?" Lila sent a voice note. I pressed play. In the background, I heard the groom's voice steady, louder than I expected. "You humiliated her," he said. "You pressured Marissa into cutting her out. She paid for everything, and you treated her like an inconvenience." Judith snapped. "I was protecting the wedding. Someone had to set standards." "Standards?" he shot back. "You destroyed the wedding because of your standards." A chair scraped, and someone gasped. The recording cut off. Lila texted again. "Marissa is crying. She keeps saying she did not mean to hurt you. She told the bridesmaids you were just trying to help, and she let the aldermans push her." Another message followed. She said, "I chose their approval over my mother's presence." I read the words slowly, letting each one settle. Marissa had always wanted acceptance from friends, from partners. Now, from an entire family that measured worth on a scale I never cared to climb. But hearing she finally admitted her part in it felt like a small, painful step towards something honest. Lila wrote again. She asked if I think you will ever speak to her. My fingers hovered over the keys, but I didn't answer right away. Can a relationship broken by disrespect ever return to what it was? The wedding was not the only thing that collapsed. So did the reputation of the woman who liked the message that pushed me out. I heard the aftermath from Lila first. "Judith is furious," she whispered over the phone. "The mansion charged her triple the penalty fee. More than $15,000. They said the aldermans violated the contract terms." "She can afford it," I said quietly. "She is not upset about the money," Lila replied. "She is upset because the Whitaker house blacklisted the family. They will never host an alderman event again." That news traveled through Savannah faster than any of us expected. Old families cared deeply about how other old families perceived them, and the aldermans had spent decades polishing their legacy. Now, everyone knew exactly who caused the fiasco. 2 days later, the groom called me. "Mrs. Hartwell," he said awkwardly, "I want you to know I spoke to my mother." And I asked, "She is dealing with the consequences." He hesitated. "People in our community are talking. They are saying she ruined the wedding because of her pride." I did not gloat. That was never my nature. But I also did not rush to comfort him. The next afternoon, my phone rang again. Marissa this time. "Mom," she said, voice small. "May I come over?" When she arrived, she stood in my doorway like a child who had gotten lost. "I am not here to ask for money," she said. "I am here because I hurt you." "You did," I answered. "I let them convince me you were a problem. I let them tell me who you were, and I should have defended you." Her eyes filled. "I am so sorry, Mom." I let her speak. I let her own the weight of it. Then I stepped closer. "I accept your apology," I said, "but I need you to hear me. Respect must come first. If that disappears, so do I." She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. "I understand. We talked for a long time, not about the wedding, not about the aldermans, just about us. The years we lost to misunderstandings, and the years we still had left." When she left, I sat at my table and opened the folder of refunded deposits. More than $30,000 had returned to my account over the past week. I decided exactly what to do with every cent. I planned a trip along the Georgia coast, something I had postponed for decades. I called the Savannah College of Art and Design to establish a small scholarship for single mothers studying archival work. I reached out to the Historical Society about restoring a collection of forgotten documents. It felt like breathing after holding my breath for years. When a woman finally chooses herself, what future does she become capable of building?